Sine of 2x equals sine of x. Okay, what one of our hints might apply to this one? Don't be afraid to talk just because I'm videoing. Do what? Oh, set it equal to 0? I guess we could start with that. So to get it equal to 0, I want to subtract that side, right? Okay, that's a good start. What other issue do we have going on in this problem? Yeah, these are different angles, right? It would be like saying that this one's 30 and this one's 60. We don't want two different angles in the same problem. So is there an identity we can use to get rid of that double angle? What is it? See how nice it is to have the identities memorized? If you do, then you can just recognize or fill in stuff like that without having to look it up. Especially you're going to have to be able to do that for the final anyway. So better to memorize them sooner than later. Okay, so are all of our angles the same now? They're all just x instead of two x's in there, right? They're all the same angle. Okay, now we want to look and see if there's something we can factor out. Can we factor out something? Sine? Right? So if we factor out a sine, we have 2 cosine x minus 1 equals 0. So I just factored it. How many different factors do I have? 2 factors, right? So can I take each factor and set it equal to 0? Yep, let's do that. So sine x equals 0. Let's go ahead and solve that. Where does sine equal 0? 0 and 180, but what interval does it say we should solve in? 0 to 2 pi. That tells us we should be leaving our answers in radians. So instead of 0 and 180, we're going to call it 0 and pi. Okay? Then we take the other factor, which is 2 cosine x minus 1. Move the 1 over and divide by the 2. Doesn't that mean cosine x will equal 1/2? So where does cosine equal 1/2? 60 degrees in the first quadrant, but we have to call that what? Pi thirds. And then what other quadrant is cosine positive in? Quadrant 4. All students take calculus. So quadrant 4. So what's the pi thirds angle in quadrant 4? 5 pi thirds, is that right? Because if it was past that, 6 pi thirds is 2 pi, so that goes too far. So from this first factor, we have these possible answers, and from the second factor, we have these possible answers. So there are 4 different possible answers for this problem, and we're done.